Now, the process of actually reproducing these ceilings, and we're going to use the lyre enrichment as an example. So that's a schematic representation of the lyre. We have a number of these samples intact in various castles. And the first stage is to make a mould of it. Now, modern technology helps us, and we have a thixotropic two-part silicon rubber. This is a very thick material that you can actually paint onto the enrichment, and you apply it and build it up in layers so it is stuck to the ceiling, taking the shape of the enrichment. Once it has dried, which takes about 20 hours, you apply a mother mould to it to keep it rigid and in shape. So effectively, plaster reinforced with Hessian is painted onto the ceiling on top of that thixotropic rubber. And when the plaster is set, the whole is eased away as a unit from the ceiling and taken to the casting workshop. So we now have a faithful copy of the original, warts and all, because not only has it got the original mistakes that the original person made, but it also has all the decay and scar of time. The next thing to do is to make a positive from this, and that's done with modern plaster of Paris. And here is a positive. So this is plaster of Paris poured into that mould, and the decision can now be made how much to improve this. This can be worked on. So if there's an obvious fault in the original where it was bumped, something was broken, that can be tweaked and repaired. That's an aesthetic decision, really, to do with the final appearance of the ceiling once. So once that is fully tweaked and modified and taken to be deemed to be representative of the original, a mould can be made for reproduction. Now, we know that the original moulds were in wood. In other words, they were reverse carved in wood, and that is a great skill and explains one or two little idiosyncrasies which you will see later. For the purpose of this exercise, we are not reverse carving new wooden moulds because we'd lose too much of the original detail in the craftsman's interpretation of the original. So we have simulated a wooden mould by taking a mould from that plaster of Paris original in a particularly hard modern plaster called Cristocal Alpha K, which is every bit as hard and considerably harder than wood. This mould can now be used to reproduce the original casts because it is strong enough to be able to beat the dense lime aggregate material into it. And here we have a first attempt at an original, and this wouldn't have looked very different from the same piece 300 years ago. It's rough in texture, which represents the material used.